extra, extra, read all about it as we will be spoiling all contents from this week's episode in this podcast recap. View at your own discretion.
You've been warned.
Welcome back to the house. We are here after a long and blessed wait. We are here to review the next MCU movie, The Thunderbolts. And boy, am I excited. I am your podcast host, Marano. Back again with two of my favorite people in the room today. Of course, you know my co-host and producer, the variant formerly known as Bob.
Hey, I wish I could just turn people I didn't like to shadows.
Quite the move that would be for you, specifically for you.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't be good.
It would not be good for everybody else at all. And you may notice that Bob over here has somebody sitting next to him. It is a dear friend of ours. He guest starred, cameoed on one of our previous episodes. He's a huge Seahawks fan, huge lover of the Sonics. Maybe one day he'll be able to actually root for the Sonics again. It is our dear friend, Andy Roberts. How are you doing, Andy?
I'm great, and I'm a little shaken up because Florence Pugh is bringing the MCU back.
Dude, she did a lot of carrying today, and we're going to talk all about it. But of course, before we can get into our review of the movie, I'm going to give a quick little breakdown recap with our 10 and 2. All right, so Yelena, getting sick of the assassin's life, is sent on a mission by her employer Valentina from Falcon and the Winter Soldier, only to find out that it's a trap set to off all of the undercover assassins under Valentina's payroll, including U.S. Agent John Walker, Taskmaster from the Black Widow movie, and Ghost from Ant-Man 2. The group works together to escape after discovering harmless newcomer Bob in the vault, and Bob helps them escape and learns of his dangerous abilities while being taken to New York by Val. And the others escape due to the help of Yelena's spy dad, Lesky, a.k.a. the Red Guardian, before Bucky shows up and takes them all in. They convince Bucky to help them go save Bob from Val, only to learn he's been shaped into the new hero Sentry, and his first mission is to take them all out. With no hope of beating him, the team runs as Val attempts to silence him once he starts to become more independent of her, releasing the Void, Sentry's evil counterpart. And as the Void begins to engulf New York City, Yelena steps into it to find Bob and help him escape to stop the spreading. The team ventures in to find her, and they help Bob overcome his loneliness and the Void for the time being, halting the attack. And they find Val to take her in, but she winds up leading them directly into a press conference where she unveils them as her new team, the New Avengers. All right, so we are back. There's so much to talk about, and I'm very excited. But, let's start with this. This is the 36th entry to the MCU, boys. This is the last movie of Phase 5. We're done with it. It's gone. Thank God. But yeah, let's talk about it. What are our initial thoughts of this movie? Because I was thoroughly pleased. I'll leave it there for now, but I want to hear your thoughts, Andy. What were you thinking about it?
All right, so I have to preface this by saying I'm a recovering MCU casual.
Okay, cool.
I'm a hardcore movie guy. I watch like way too many movies in general, daily, on the weekly, monthly, and this was the first time I watched an MCU movie probably in the last 3 years where I was convinced that the future is in capable hands.
Awesome, very cool. Yeah,
I'll leave it at that for now.
Yeah, Joe.
We needed it.
We needed it. We needed this one bad.
It's kind of like it's kind of like we were up 25 at the half, and man, they just came storming back, and now we're only up 3. and our star player kind of kicks the rock to the corner to a roll guy that's like probably been shooting like 35%.
Nothing crazy.
But man, when we needed it, they hit a big shot.
He hit a big shot. Yeah, no Malik Beasley in this one. Man, I agree, guys. This is this is definitely like, I think I was feeling it a little bit kind of coming into this movie that like this could do a lot of good things. We all heard a lot of good things going into it.
Sure.
And I definitely will say I was super discouraged walking out of Captain America. But yeah, watching this one, I have a little hope. Hope is on the horizon. I see the sunrise, should I say. I see it on the horizon, and this is leading us directly into a jam-packed summer, one of those movies in the summer being Fantastic Four. And I will say the way this leads into that one is very beautifully done.
Very
This
well done.
felt very classic MCU to me.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, like one of my first thoughts I had while watching this movie is like, this is kind of, and this is going to sound weird, and I'll explain it. This is kind of the Black Widow movie we didn't actually get. Meaning, like, the Black Widow movie we did get that everybody wanted for a while, or didn't want, depending on how you thought of that character. But, you know, she didn't get her chance to shine until pretty much everything was already done. And it wasn't a big hit at all. Most people would actually consider it probably one of the weakest entries into the MCU saga. But it did give us a lot of great characters. And this movie seems to be, it's not Yelena's coming out party, but it is like, I feel like it's her movie. And I know it's not entirely because it's the Thunderbolts. It's like the team aspect of thing. It's Bob's as well as Valentina's. But she was the main character of this. And going into the future, like, I actually feel confident that she can be one of the building blocks of the future MCU in a lot of ways. And I was really appreciative of that and how they did her character. So
I think they led into it really well in the solo movie as it is, which, as an avid movie guy and a recovering MCU casual, I would say that I'm pretty jaded from the, hey, this is a setup for the next thing. This will make sense later on, and you'll appreciate this character more in the next thing. I hate not having a very consolidated 120 minutes of a really good movie.
yeah,
I bought every minute that Yelena was on screen, and I buy anything they're going to do with her next. To me, this was her Captain America, where I believe that she can lead something. She might not be the most talented on the team. She might not be the most powerful in a vacuum, but her heart, where she comes from, the pain she has that she's taking with her through any battle, any thing that they might face.
Yeah.
I believe in what she can do to lead. The new Avengers are something greater.
yeah, I agree. I completely agree. What were your thoughts on her, Joe? Because she was, I mean, like I said, she's not like the movie, but she is a vast majority of this movie.
Yeah, her performance was phenomenal. I loved that essentially to help Bob, she had to speak to herself in a way. Like he was just a representation of what she's feeling, what she's going through as well.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the only way, she was the only person fit to help him because she's the only one that was going through what he was going through. All those themes, beautiful. But the only thing that I'm like, just like, is that she is quite literally the definition of just a human being.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's like when the threats get greater, when the scale gets bigger, right? Like I think she can lead from an emotional standpoint, like we got from Cap.
Yeah.
I think she can lead as far as like being a glue guy. But it's like the thing that separates Cap is like when crap hit the fan, he was the first one to throw them hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, and he was leading, on the front lines. And so it's not that big of a deal.
No,
I'm just saying that to put it out there.
I agree.
Does it ruin the movie for me? Absolutely not. Absolutely. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's just like going forward, if we, it's already announced that we are getting the new Avengers in the Avengers movies. Once we get to that big scale, it's like, what is she going to be able to offer? Now, that being said, we did have Black Widow in all of the Avengers movie, and she played a part.
Yeah.
And she did her thing. She handled herself. So it's like we could just do more of that.
I agree. I think that's kind of the formula that we're looking for. And I think, too, the later and later we got into the MCU, her character, Black Widow, meaning her character really provided a lot of like the emotional heartbeat of the team. And so I think they're already kind of setting that up with Yelena, because I agree. It's like, listen, she's not going to be able to do much in a fight, but can she be the leader? And I think we like left around Captain America thinking like, the same conversation we had around Falcon. It's like he's just a human, man. Like I get it. He's got the shield, he's got the suit, but at the end of the day, like no matter what that movie showed us, he's not taking a punch straight on from Red Hulk. Like it's not happening.
For sure.
And so I agree with that on that standpoint, but I do think, her as an actress just individually, I think can carry any one of these films, which that alone, like as long as it's being done properly, like it was in this movie, I think I agree with you. Like if we had Black Widow in those, I think this character can work just as well, even if it's next to, the most powerful character, if it has to be at that point. But let's go back to the beginning of this movie, because I think there wasn't really like a a pause in this movie that I felt like we were, all right, let's get it on. Let's keep it moving.
Nah.
Let's get it going.
Yeah.
I felt like I was locked in every scene from the get-go.
From the opening
Yep.
top-down scene of her infiltrating the base and
Mhm.
hearing her little monologue that she's giving at the end of the infiltration, that opening oneer from where it just pans left to right,
Yeah.
and you see the shadows. By the way, also foreshadowing in the
1000%.
rest of it.
Yeah,
which is
I
really
didn't
well
know if you
done.
I didn't know if you were gonna catch on to that because
Yeah.
I'm almost positive you caught on to that, and I definitely caught
Huge
on to that.
foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Well, I walked in not knowing who Lewis Pullman was going to be,
Yeah.
what his character was,
Yeah,
any
yeah.
of the lore behind Sentry.
Mhm.
I had no idea.
Mhm.
But I could tell, I'm like, okay, this is meaning something. And then as soon as I see the shadows again, which I recognized from the trailer, but I didn't think much of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that was really well done. From the moment I saw that, I was like, oh, shoot, like I'm strapped in for this. This is something that's
1000%.
grabbing me.
Yeah.
And the fight choreography and that alone might be my favorite fight choreography. I mean, in the vault
Yeah.
was fire.
Yeah.
But that
The
being
fall was great. The
for
fall-
just a one Avenger, superhero, etc., taking on
Mhm.
just a room of bad guys.
Yeah.
That was very well done.
that
and
was
shot
up
well.
there. I think we can confidently put that in the Hall of Fame of hallway scenes that we've
Very up
gotten
there.
in superhero products so far. We've got a lot of them.
Darth Vader
So-
at the end of Rogue
Yeah,
One.
so we got a lot of hallway scenes, but that one I agree. I think just the way it was shot was so captivating.
Yeah.
That's like what, because it elevates it from being just another, she's got to fight her way through 10 people to get down the
Yeah.
hallway, to like, you do get to see the shadows and
Yes.
and you do get to see that angle where it is kind of just like a one shot panning up to the top and going across. Did you know she actually jumped off that building? I
That's
know he
fire.
knew. That's like a practical like Tom Cruise level
I
stunt.
did hear a little bit of rumor about that.
Yeah.
I didn't know where it was.
It's one of the tallest buildings in the world, I believe. I forget which one it was,
Crazy.
but she legit dropped off that.
I love, by the way,
That's crazy.
you don't know what you're walking into when
Mhm.
you open the movie like that with her
Mhm.
character. She's obviously talking about being depressed at the very
Oh
beginning.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so the fact that she's like, I don't remember what the line that she said was, but she essentially said like, I'm really not doing well. What's the
Yeah.
point of life? And she jumps off, and then you
Mhm.
don't see the greater scheme of like she jumps out of frame.
Mm-hmm.
That was really well done because it's obviously a clear metaphor
Yeah.
for what she's going through. And
And it overlines the metaphor of this movie, which is a lot of mental health stuff, and it
Yeah.
it also parallels a lot of this other scenes that we get later on of just jumping off the cliff
yeah,
and like giving up, because she's walking to the edge at the beginning of the movie. She jumps off the edge. Walker at one point when he gets his first vision is like on the edge. He
Yeah.
looks like he's about to walk off.
yeah.
We see Bob later in the movie walk completely off the edge,
There's a
and
lot
so
of that.
there's a lot of that like mental health. That is like the I think the biggest theme from this movie is the mental health aspect of it, and I think it was just really well done. Like you said, from the opening monologue, like everything she's discussing is just like, yeah, I'm just not doing well, and like I feel lonely and kind of done doing this assassin thing, but here I am waking up
Yeah.
another day on the job. And it was just really well done, man. It's captivating, and I was in it from the beginning, and the foreshadowing goes crazy in this movie.
does.
In a really good way, and it only gets better and better as we continue to go along in it. So, all right, real quick, we're going to take a small break, and then we're going to be right back. All right, we're back. And so I want to get into kind of the movements of the opening scenes outside of the vault, because the vault was, you guys have anything else to say about that opening scene with the vault with her getting the guinea pig? Thought that was good. Pretty sure that guy was Psychowitz from the Nickelodeon show Victorious.
No, he was.
Did you ever watch that?
Yes.
Somebody look that up, because
I'm-
I'm like 90% certain that was him, or if not, he
I
is an
could
actor I've seen before in
Vaguely
several
could see
things.
it. Vaguely
You're
could see
gonna
it.
have to deep dive for that one, because I'm sure it's like scientist number 1 in
Yeah.
IMDb.
The only thing would be we started the movie where we ended the movie. I thought it
Mhm.
was always fun. Obviously the lab that she blows up is the lab we're in at the end.
yeah, yeah,
And it's cool because the moment you realize that is throughout the time in the beginning of the movie, you're kind of going to the lab. You see the shadows on
Yes.
the wall,
yeah.
and
We both instantly too were like,
Dang. Yeah, we're and then it's like when we do circle all the way back in the end, when they stumble into the room, you see the shadows on the wall on the back,
Yeah.
and him sitting on
and
the
he's sitting
thing.
there. It's like we wrap around almost to right where we
right,
started.
Yeah.
right where we started. And so I always think stuff like that is cool.
Very cool.
And then yeah, it just was good to kind of just open up with Yelena,
Yeah.
just because she kind of is the through line to this
Mhm.
whole movie. Although we get great supporting characters.
We get a lot of great characters. I do want to talk about them eventually. I will
yeah,
say
one of my favorites. It's got to be Taskmaster. I think they had a great
so
run.
I wanted to ask you about this. How much did you know about the Taskmaster thing? Not the character, but like the role that
Okay.
they were playing in this movie.
The role they were playing in this movie, I had talked with a friend, and theory was that they don't last 10 minutes. I don't remember who said it. I was talking to somebody, and they couldn't have been better or more right. I knew Taskmaster from Black Widow, which I rewatched this past week to get prepped for it. And I knew the Taskmaster from the Spider-Man PS4.
Okay.
That's the Taskmaster that I knew as Taskmaster. So when I went back and watched Black Widow, I'm like, oh, this is obviously a different interpretation that regendered it. They kind of reimagined the origin, and this is a different version.
It wasn't
and
it wasn't well received.
No,
because a lot of people, even though he is a smaller villain, a lot of people love him.
He's a fire character.
His character is very cool, and they could have done like a lot of cool things with that character, and I think they did waste a little bit of the potential of it. But yeah, well, the funny thing going online, like since this movie came out, is like you can kind of tell that she's kind of like superimposed into a lot of these trailer shots that we got.
Yeah.
And so everybody was like, something's not right here.
Yeah, I had seen some of that. I think what actually like spoiled it for me was I saw a report that the actress was not at the premiere.
Oh, really?
Oh, dang.
So
You
it's
think
like,
she had beef with him about that?
No, I mean,
If you're a
maybe.
side character in 10 minutes of the movie.
yeah, but it's like they probably like forgot about her or something. But it's just when I heard that, I was like, oh, like if you're in the movie, like there's just no way you're missing the premiere.
I definitely had heard the theory a couple times that that character is going to die pretty soon, just because of all the CGI mess in the trailers. So
Even the
Yeah.
poster.
but
which I'm looking
even
at,
when it happened, I legit was like,
Yeah.
I was like,
more
"There's no way
like
she's
in
dead
the
now."
way it happened, because it was
Yeah.
just done really well.
Shoot
Like she
bullets
just
at her.
pops up and it's gone. But even still, I was like, damn, we really didn't get her for like 5 minutes.
I also
We got
think,
her for
shot
the
of her
fight,
face.
and that's it.
I also
Yeah.
think like it sucks that we got rid of her because she's like actually like would probably fit really well into this team.
1,000%.
And is a very practical character as far
Yes.
as like it's really just hand to hand combat.
Yes.
Yeah.
And hers was way cooler than the rest
way
of
cooler.
theirs.
Yeah.
Way cooler.
Like-
she's throwing the shield like Cap at one point. She's shooting the bow.
Like when she's getting shot, and she just bounces it off the ground.
my
to
God,
block
it was
the
so
bullet,
hot,
catches
bro.
it back.
That was
Also,
so
just like
hot.
imagine like in the end when they're all fighting Sentry in
Mhm.
the penthouse, and like just having a little sequence with Taskmaster when like she's just dodging
Oh, yeah.
everything because she's already like copied his fighting style.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so she's like untouchable, but then obviously she gets blitzed.
Yeah.
Like speed blitzed.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying now? But like just to get a cool little sequence of that of like he can't touch her.
Yeah.
Would just be super
would've
cool.
been cool.
But then again, all that to say, she didn't deserve to be in the MCU.
No,
I was gonna say it's tragic from beginning to end for her character.
Yeah.
Even the way she was killed off,
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
if it's probably still the good ending.
yeah, 1,000%.
Yeah, no, yeah. If it was a guy, it probably would have been better.
Yeah.
I probably felt a little different.
Let's get straight into the fight choreography of that scene, though, because that's where I was heading next. Probably the best thing I've honestly seen since like Shang-Chi and Winter Soldier. And I like to throw Shang-Chi in there because I think that one gets really lost and forgotten about
It's
how
my favorite choreography.
how great the choreography is in that movie with the fighting.
It's the people that did the Jackie Chan movies.
I know,
Insane.
but like people like to
Insane.
act. Listen, this podcast is in the small minority. I don't know where your thoughts on it. We're in the small minority that we actually really like Shang-Chi, and
I
that,
love it.
good.
That's
I'm glad
my
you're in the right
favorite-
spot.
That's my
then.
favorite since Endgame.
Same. It's been. I'll say No Way Home has been my favorite since Endgame,
Yeah.
but Shang-Chi is a close second. And
Yeah,
so,
that's fair.
and
probably
personally for
flop
me, it's like one of my top 5 like Marvel movies. But I know that's not going to be the same for everybody else. But
Valid take.
the choreography in that scene was awesome, and just how they're slowly showing up one by one to take out the other. None of them are worried about the rest of the people in the room, just the one person they're fighting.
Yeah.
And the way that they kind of have to bounce around the fighting towards each other around the circle is excellent. I think it all built to a head in the knife throwing scene where
That
it's just
was
like that was one of the coolest things I've seen like executed in not even like a superhero film, like also just like a fighting film. I thought that was awesome.
The only thing that I wanted more from that knife was for it to get back and yell in his hands.
That's
and
what
her
I
to look
thought
at
was
it and
gonna
go,
happen.
Oh shoot.
Yeah, that's what I thought was gonna
That's a full
happen,
circle
and then
thing.
it didn't. They kind of like that's where they stopped it and brought Bob in. But
Yeah.
yeah, dude, the throwing to the bouncing to like even right before that is the scene where Ghost and Taskmaster they're doing the shooting thing, and
Yeah.
that was reminiscent of the knife fight in Winter Soldier to me. But it's just like with a gun and a shield, where like they're so close combat, and
Yeah.
Ghost doesn't really have, I don't think, too much like combat like knowledge. It's really like she's got a limited compared to the rest of them. But the move in the shield, because like it was also funny. Because what do you think every time somebody has a shield? It's like just like
Shoot the leg.
shoot their leg,
Yeah.
shoot their.
Bounce.
That was not working. That was
No.
not-
Dribbled the shield like a
First
basketball.
character in
Crazy.
cinema history that actually tried to do it, and it still didn't work. But it was just incredible. And then, we get the entry of Bob. And I think from the moment he was on the screen, it was electricity, bro.
He was good.
Y'all don't understand how big of a fan of Lewis Pullman I am.
Yeah.
I know
What's he been in?
This is I was gonna say this is where I was bringing in my cinephile entry into here. Obviously, you know him from Top Gun Maverick. Everybody knows him from Top Gun Maverick. He is Lieutenant Bob Floyd, which had me cracking up that he's named Bob because I was like, that's literally his name in Maverick.
I love that movie, but I don't remember him. That's
2022 was that movie. My favorite role of his is 2018's Bad Times at the El Royale, which is an insanely slept on
I've heard of that movie.
Kind of whodunit
That's been on my list for a long time.
He is fantastic in that, and he has a somewhat limited role too. But y'all don't understand how amazing of a role he plays in that movie, and his acting. From the moment I saw that, I was like, okay, whatever he's in, I'm strapped in because that guy is he eats up this. It's a really big part of that movie, and y'all should see it. So I'm not going to spoil it. But he plays a really great role that's kind of similar to Bob here.
Cool.
So I understand the casting, and it was a very good casting, and I'm glad that it seems like he's going to have like a legitimate role.
Yeah, I'm glad he's staying around.
Yeah,
I wasn't. That was the one thing I wasn't sure about his character going into this because Sentry is a major Marvel character, and I do want to get into that here in a second. But I wasn't sure how the film was going to end in terms of like, are we just going to kind of off Bob because we can't stick around?
Yeah,
he's doing a lot of damage, But I love the way they left it off.
Yeah,
I think I think that works even more with keeping this team around as well in the future.
And you can't tap into it.
1000%.
But at the same time, that's going to be their power eventually, hopefully.
Exactly. Like that's their big hitter if it ever comes down to it. But no, from the moment he's on, the way he plays his character is enrapturing. Like I'm dialed into what he's doing. The way he's playing it so, fritzy, and he's on edge the entire time. He's got this dark secret that you can tell from the get-go, but you can't figure it out. And probably one of my favorite parts of the entire movie is the whole next 30 minutes where they're trying to escape the vault. All the little small things they throw in there. All the little small things. It's really well done in not a way that gives away everything coming towards the end of the movie. And like every time they revealed a new one, like we were kind of like, you catch that one?
Oh, shoot.
It was like, oh no. So that was incredible. I just I couldn't say enough about his performance in this movie. It was really well. And I don't even know, is he technically like the villain of this movie? Would we call him the villain?
He's the antagonist.
I would say antagonist more
of
villain.
Valentina.
Valentina's more the villain of this.
True.
Yeah, I guess she does provide more of the
puppet master.
The puppet master villain role.
True.
But so Sentry. Let's talk about Marvel stuff real fast. Did you know anything about Sentry coming into this film?
I know Jack.
That's okay, because as of like a month ago, I didn't either. Sentry was not a character I was well versed in, so I did a lot of deep dive homework on him. I know you knew about him a little bit more than I did.
Yeah, a little bit
at the start. But so this character is an interesting one in Marvel Comics. It's kind of evolved as the time has gone on. Like it started off as one thing, and they slowly just kind of crept it into one thing, into another, into another, into another. But this character starts off as a superhero created by the government to basically, kind of like what they did in this movie, like be the Captain America of his time, and just be this golden boy superhero. The only problem is he's schizophrenic as hell. And so in this movie too, they added he is also a drug addict in the comics as well. So not only that, he's a drug addict, and I do think they lay that question out really well in the movie. They say it at one point. It's like, the Captain America thing worked because we happen to give the super soldier serum to someone like Steve.
Yeah.
But what happens when you give it to someone who's not like Steve?
Yeah.
And we get that in this movie where he is a schizophrenic drug addict who gets these otherworldly, godly powers. And it spins even further than that because he's basically being co-inhabited by this entity called the Void. And the Void was a later invention of this character, or at least more fleshed out in later versions of this character, when it was actually revealed. They did a whole basically comic run with this guy, where he's kind of losing it, going off the deep end, finding out all these things about himself, only to realize that was literally all made up in his head. And he's actually just some dude locked up in a cell. And then he enters into like the actual Marvel universe after the Avengers find him. And, it gets into some trouble, but like ultimately in the comics, it leaves him off as like, he's a reluctant hero who they know they have to like keep an eye on.
Yeah.
But he's still a hero and he's still around. Very powerful. They say it very, very powerful. So like, that's why we kept eyeballing each other at the beginning of the film. It's like every time they kind of showed like a little twinkle in his eye, every time, like when she first woke up and then he appears in the dream, I was just like, like, yo. And I love how they continue to reveal that
I
throughout the
think
movie.
as of right now, he's undoubtedly top 3 most
Oh,
powerful
he's
characters.
1,000%. 1,000%.
He is a problem. Now,
Problem.
obviously the only downside is he can't bring it out
Yeah.
without.
You
So
gotta
it's
love
like
that, though.
the world has
Yep.
to be ending for him to come out.
Yeah.
It's like no other options.
1,000%.
Then we bring this guy out. So it'll be interesting because he's kind of like a worst version of Hulk.
Yeah.
In the sense of like, of course, when Banner is Hulk, like Hulk is his own entity, and
Yeah.
so it could kind of does what he wants.
Very angry for sure. Yes.
Very angry. But like Banner, especially now, has like control.
Mm-hmm.
There's just no control in this.
No,
guy.
and that's a consistent theme throughout the comics too. Is like, there's never defeating the void.
Right.
It's just putting it back in the box.
Right.
And like, there's a lot of it gets to a point in the comics where he even starts to learn how to go into his own head and like have conversations with the void.
Fire.
And the conversations never change. It's always like the void is saying the same things every single time, which is
Yeah.
what he says in this movie. Like, you're alone.
Yeah.
There's nobody for you. This is it.
Yeah.
Just me and you.
Like, dude, we were just fighting with 13 other guys.
Yep.
They're with us.
1,000%.
Nah.
Nope. Just me and you. But so yeah, so like going into it, I just didn't know what to expect about the movie. I think the suit looked really good. I was wondering how
it's
they
comic
were,
accurate.
yeah, very comic accurate. I was wondering how they were getting the blonde hair in there. They kind of snuck that in there really smoothly. It didn't feel like it was too abrupt and crazy.
How did he come out? I guess
he just kind of walked down the stairs?
no, but he came back out of his head with brown hair.
Yeah, that's true.
He came
yeah,
out in
So
the
I-
same outfit he wore in the start of the movie. Too.
that's true. Yeah,
So I guess like when they did the costume and stuff, like he was void, maybe, and when he came back out, he got brown hair.
I don't know.
That's a stretch, but I'm just
it's
I'm
a
just
stretch, and
guessing.
we could probably come up with a few different answers for this one.
Well, he didn't want to be called Void, but he wanted to be called Sentry.
Yeah.
So in a way, I mean, obviously.
Well, that's
mentally where
kind
he
of the
was.
theme in the comics too. Is like
Yeah.
in a way, Sentry is the void.
Right. Exactly.
Like there's not really like a.
There's
It's not
Yeah.
like a Hulk and Banner, like you said. It's like
Yeah,
there's
it's-
Bob,
yeah.
and then there's this other side of him, which is super powered. And to that super powered, there's 2 coins,
Right.
Yeah,
and it's really just which one you flip that day.
for sure. But the
Um,
suit was fire.
It was really
It was
good.
pretty
Looks
cool.
looks tasty.
I like a good comic accurate suit.
Oh yeah, listen, that's what we do it for. We're here for a superhero movie.
That's what I'm saying.
Give me a goddamn superhero
We
in a
don't-
superhero
I like
costume.
this.
But like,
suit.
we don't gotta like redesign or whatever. If it's,
No.
I mean, some people, if you think it looks goofy, it's like. But then again, it's comic book,
No.
bro.
Yeah.
The
Like-
only thing I thought looked goofy in this entire movie was unfortunately when they started bringing in a little bit more CGI at that end
At
scene.
the end of the penthouse.
Yeah.
in the penthouse. That was like the only, honestly, maybe like the only knock I have on this movie was that
It
scene.
wasn't even that bad.
It wasn't that bad, and
It
honestly, like, because it's so cool, you don't have to focus on it. It's just like the way they're moving and he's beating them up.
Yeah,
you
it
know.
looks like CGI for sure.
Yeah, that
But,
was my.
but
only
then again,
thing.
everything you're doing is you can't do it practically.
I know. It's just like we've seen them do this so well. So every time it's gonna come up every single time until they fix it. It's like we've seen them do it so well. So when it's not done well and it doesn't look like it has in the past, even with fast moving characters like that, with superpowered characters like that, it's looked really good.
Yeah.
And it's just like I hate it when you can just tell that it's just CGI. Like that's because I really thought we were like when we entered the new age of Avengers and we saw Hulk on screen after his outing in the Incredible Hulk and the original Hulk, where those both kind of look of their time in their own ways. But when you see him in like Avengers, it's just like it's perfect. I just don't understand why we can't just have the same level of consistency that we got from that movie in this movie, because that's harder to do because he doesn't have like a shirt on. You're getting like skin and hair and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And in this one, it's just a dude and I don't know. That's the only thing that bugged me, but I don't want to focus on that too much because it didn't overwhelm the movie to a point of being
No,
negative in any
Wasn't
means.
that big.
But yeah, so they get out of the vault and I guess they confront Valentina, and I want to talk about Valentina real quick. How did you guys feel about Valentina throughout this movie? What were your thoughts on the character, on the portrayal, on the arc? Like, what were you thinking about it? Anything?
I understood her role in the movie. I thought the role in the movie was fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not scared. I'm not worried.
That's true.
I'm not intimidated if I'm rooting for the Thunderbolts or any other people going forward. She
Mhm.
just kind of felt like, hey, this is who would make sense in the movie. And she feels a good role in the movie. I feel
Mhm.
like that's fine. I don't think moving forward that means anything. Her
Yeah.
character. I mean, they might end up writing something for her, but Julia Louis-Dreyfus is cool. She played it pretty well. I think that I'm lying through my teeth through everything, and you can read through my smile and my everything was played well. And her intern was an interesting thing that I kind of expect a little more from. I'm assuming there's something being set up.
Seen that actress somewhere.
She's been in a few things. Let me pull that up.
What has she
I
been
had
in?
a few things other pulled up. She's been in last year's Drive Away Dolls. She's been in this Netflix movie that was just released with Will Ferrell recently.
Could have sworn I've seen her in something I've seen
She's
before.
been in Blockers. She's been in Bad Education.
Talk blockers.
Yeah.
Yes, I do remember that movie. Wow, that was a deep cut.
It is. But her last two biggest roles were last year's Drive Away Dolls, which is with Margaret Qualley.
Okay.
And You're Cordially Invited with Reese Witherspoon, and it was like a direct to Apple TV thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah, my wife
Yeah.
watched that.
It's interesting you said that. I actually thought like the weakest part of the film was her.
Huh.
And honestly, like
It
again,
needed to be
I hate saying this again. We just discussed this on The Last of Us. I'm not an expert when it comes to acting. I'm not, but like I don't know. I felt like she was the weakest actor of the entire film. Like the way she was portraying it, I don't really have like a lot of notes or in-depth analysis on why I didn't feel it, but I just like didn't feel it the same way I was feeling it from pretty much every other character in this entire movie. She just felt like the weakest to me. And I don't know what it was about it, but it just didn't scratch my itch.
I think the character is my problem more than the acting.
Yeah.
I just think the character didn't need to be there.
Mm-hmm.
I understood that there needed to be kind of some sort of back and forth of like, she's so bad, can't you see that the people she's working with can see it too?
Yeah.
It's like, we didn't need that.
Yeah.
We can tell that she's doing the bad thing.
Yeah.
We don't need to me, that was a little bit of a sidetrack if they're not going to do much with her character at the end, which they didn't. I mean, I guess they needed
Yeah.
a way to know where she was.
That's what
at
was
the-
so weird about it, because we've built her up in 2 other properties at this point.
I think she's just the red string that connects all these characters.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
She's just the through line.
Yeah.
So anytime we've seen only other projects we've seen her in is interacting with all of these Thunderbolts,
That's fair.
except for Red Guardian.
Yeah.
Like,
she didn't know him.
yeah, she didn't know him clearly. But like, she's the one that like had Yelena in her pocket. She had U.S. Agent in her pocket. You know, I guess Ghost. We didn't see that, but makes sense.
She did. Yep.
And Taskmaster. So it's like I think that was her purpose.
I agree. I just thought she was gonna be built up to be more. Like you said, she didn't like become anything, and I
To
agree with
me,
that. It's just like
She is, and forgive the PG-13 analogy,
Mhm.
she's the pimp to all of these
Yeah.
agents.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't have any power in herself other than that she's got
No.
the status. There's no reason.
Well,
to
she doesn't
fear
even
her.
have like the intimidation factor or the strength of like a Fury.
No.
Which is what, like, when she first started popping around, like, what was portrayed of her or what was said about her, at least from the Marvel side of things, was like, she's going to be kind of like this dark Nick Fury who's going to get, like, her own team
Yeah.
together. And honestly, like, even in Winter Soldier and at the end of Black Widow, I think, like, she's a lot more intimidating and serious
sure.
and a lot more, it at least seems like more like a threat.
Yeah.
But I don't know. She, like, played it very differently than I thought she was going to play it in
The
this
more
movie.
screen time she had, the less afraid of her I was.
Yeah.
And I think that it's a test because she has very seldom screen time,
Mhm.
right? In those other 2 properties. When she showed up at the beginning here too, I'm like, okay, I remember her.
Mhm.
I'm gonna start. Wait a minute. Oh shoot.
Yeah.
Oh no. It's
She
not-
plays it a
it's
lot
not
more
intimidating.
jovial and like satirish, almost like it's
Yeah.
satirical. It's just like she's making jokes and she's like smiling almost the entire time. I don't know. I just thought we were getting something different out of that character, and it just kind of threw me off watching it the entire time.
Am I the only one that found her attractive?
Oh no, I was about to say however old she is, she still got it. She still got it. I'm glad you were on that boat too, because every time she was on the
Happy
screen,
for
I was
y'all.
like, wow. I was like,
Yeah.
Still got it. Still got it.
Yeah. That's all I have.
She's like mid-50s at this
Are
point.
y'all Seinfeld heads?
I'm not as much, but I've seen
I was gonna say,
episodes and stuff.
I didn't have any connection, but that's okay.
Yeah, no,
That's fair.
that's like all I'd seen her from.
I just thought
but-
she was beautiful.
Yeah, had it. Her assistant too, beautiful. Thought
Sure.
she was beautiful as well. And her and Bucky got something weird going on.
Yeah, that was odd.
Felt a little bit of sexual tension
A
Yeah.
there.
little bit of tension.
Little bit.
But Bucky is suave. So.
Oh, he's so suave, bro. We got to talk about how smooth that guy is, bro. Yo, he loves his little hover gun, bro. Whatever that
Yeah.
thing is, man, that shoots the
Jeez.
discs, bro. He
And-
loves that thing.
And his motorcycle.
Oh, and
Yep.
his motorcycle. But bro, when he shows up in that scene, it's electric.
It is.
Yeah.
The music is fantastic.
And he's just
He's just he's just moseying along.
he's just
dude.
bro, his
So
straight
there's another
face,
day
bro.
at the-
50 caliber bullets flying.
completely
Weave.
unfazed.
weave. It's like, bro, this dude was bored.
Yeah, he was so
Bro,
bored.
he's like, you do understand, like, I fought Thanos,
yeah.
right? He's like, everybody like aware, like, you think these 50 caliber bullets are really scaring me, bro?
Oh my gosh, bro.
I fought the Mad Titan.
Yeah.
I fought an intergalactic genocide. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like these little military bullets are just
Yeah.
they're just not
He
intimidating.
seems so much at this point, bro. It's funny because you see him earlier in the Congress scene where he whips that guy into a corner. And he's like, "Don't worry, we're in the blind spots." And the guy's like, "Dude, you're relax.
He does not know how to
You're
be
a
politician.
congressman
Yeah.
now." Like,
He's like, yeah, but
Yeah,
before this, I was
yeah,
also
yeah.
an international
Yeah.
spy.
Right.
it's like no reason for him to be doing this at this party, but
sure.
he's totally just like still whipping out all the spy stuff. And then again, he gets to the truck scene, and he's just like, "I agree, man. It's like a dog. I've been here, done this, man. This ain't
Yeah.
nothing new,
I
bro.
love-
It's
Another week.
it's just another week for me." Oh man, he says it even to them afterwards,
Yeah.
like when he's got them all tied up. It's like, cool, like
Yeah.
you what? It's just
Yeah.
he's crazy, bro. But
He clears them all.
he
I
clears them all.
love-
I'm glad he got brought into
Yeah.
that capacity.
Yeah.
I was gonna say this feels like you're rebuilding a franchise. I'm not
Mhm.
talking movie franchise. I'm talking sports franchise.
Mhm.
You get a bunch of young guys in a room. You get some good draft picks. You get a couple rising stars, and then all of a sudden you're like, all right, I got to bring in a veteran. This is the Seahawks Tyler Lockett in the wide receiver room. If you
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
can forgive my crossover in the
Mhm.
episode, but they needed somebody who's been there, done that, and knows what he's doing to
Yeah.
bring that veteran leadership. And even when Yelena goes into the darkness and he's like, "Oh, hold on, what are y'all talking about? Like,
Yeah.
let's pause.
We're
on this.
not
I've-
just
I've had
running
this
into the
experience.
void.
We're not just running into the void. Let's think about this for a
Yeah.
second." And I'm like, there's nobody else in that group that would have done that.
Yeah,
He's in this necessary veteran in the room
Mhm.
to carry
He's
them
Unk.
through all of those scenes.
He is
He is
Unk.
Unk.
He
He's
is
He's
Unk,
very
bro.
Unk.
New Unk.
Yep.
It's cool because he kind of takes a little bit of a leadership role without actually being the prime leader.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really well done. Because we don't really get a lot of him in this movie. It's not
No.
like an overwhelming amount
Does not have a
compared
lot
to
of
the rest of the
lines.
characters. But with the times that he does, I mean, Sebastian Stan just hats off. Like he just steals the
Mhm.
scene every single time he's in it, and it's just incredible to watch. Other characters I thought were electric in this movie. I mean, I could go down the list. Like I said to you within the first 5 minutes when Taskmaster was gone, I was like, like, why couldn't we have made that Ghost? Like I would have liked to see Taskmaster a lot longer because the power set is just so much cooler.
Yeah.
And then you were like, no, like I really like Ghost. And honestly, I was like, nah. And then as the movie went on, I was like,
I like Ghost.
I actually really liked Ghost. Like she did
Mm-hmm.
a phenomenal job. I liked every moment that she had, like interjecting into it. Again, super small, but just really does it really well in the
Yeah.
time she's in it.
Yeah.
And then a bummer because our theater was just so dead and just not into it at all.
People were
But
not reacting.
Alexi was hysterical.
He
bro.
was
Yeah.
so funny.
He's never not funny.
He
in
was
this
way
character.
more funny in this than he was in Black Widow. His
1,000%.
writing was so
It
much
felt
better.
less forced.
Way
In
less
Black Widow,
forced.
it just feels like he's there. Hey, insert joke line. It's
And in
like,
the trailer, they didn't give the good jokes, so
I
I thought it was
agree.
going to be the same stuff again.
I
and
agree.
they way over
because that's been a
overperformed on that.
Marvel staple.
Yeah.
Is let's give away one of the best jokes in the movie in the trailer. It's
Yeah.
one of the most frustrating things about Marvel trailers. They really didn't do that. Like, of course, we got like the Wheatie box, we got the limo scene,
Yeah.
but for the most part, again, he's funny the entire time,
He
bro.
is funny the whole
He
time.
rarely missed.
That's the
And
thing
he
about
d-
having an actor like David Harbour is
Mhm.
like he was hilarious the whole movie,
uh-huh.
but he also like gave one of the best scenes in the movie with
That's what I was about to
with
say, too.
Yelena under the bridge. Like
1,000%.
Huge.
it was no jokes. You know what I mean?
No.
It was a heart to heart serious conversation, and Yelena delivered, but like he was a perfect partner in that.
Yeah.
1,000%.
And that's just the versatility in him as an actor, because
Mhm.
I personally think he's a really
I
good actor.
love
He's a
him.
great actor.
And
Stranger
he
Things,
also
everything.
loves this character. And
Yeah.
that's what also makes you can see that
Yeah.
oozing out of him the entire
He's having
time.
so much fun. The
He
whole
has
time.
so much fun being a part of this in every way of form. And I agree, like that speech, you're tackling like real world issues.
You are.
Like she's like, Dad, I'm alone.
Yeah.
Like that's what it boils down to. Like I feel lost and alone, which is something everyone on the planet can relate with. And even in that scene, I was like, if you can't sit there and watch that scene and feel the emotions and put yourself into a time and space where you also felt that emotion and maybe had someone speaking to you like
Yeah.
that, like you just feel it. You feel every moment of it. And it really helps you feel the weight and the theme of what they're talking about. And again, what he says is like, it's just beautiful throughout that speech. And again, he's the comic relief, and yet he provides probably the most serious, speech, a monologue of in the entire movie. He's just lights out, man. I love
Yeah.
him. We need more of him. I don't want to cast him to the wayside.
I love David Harbour, but I was a little bit hesitant about his character after
Yeah.
seeing Black Widow this week.
Yeah.
and
That's fair.
I'm
That's fair.
on board. I'm on board now.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I'm
okay, I
glad.
like him being a member of that team. He was annoyingly stupid
Yeah.
in Black Widow. He wasn't stupid in this.
Yeah.
He was jaded, but he
Mhm.
wasn't just the drunk. The whole time. That wasn't his
Yeah.
only comedic relief, and he actually had some wisdom in there. He leaned into being a father for
Mhm.
the first time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like his character needed to grow up, and it wasn't his arc wasn't the biggest arc in the movie. It's
No.
probably like fourth on the list, if anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I loved where his character ended up by the end of the movie.
Yeah, completely incredible. And then another character who just the arc has been done really well, even from the show he was in. John Walker, I love that character, man. After this movie, especially, I really like that character. I remember I had to think back to how we were talking about Winter Soldier when it first came out, and I don't remember liking him so much, but I remember by the end of that series being like, I think he did like a really good job. And this movie only really hits the home run off the double from last bat. His moments are also scene stealing. His arrogance that he plays with in this movie is hysterical.
Yeah.
It's cool because you see the different ways in which the humor is given throughout each of the characters. Yelena, it's so dry. It's so dry, but it still makes you laugh.
Yeah.
Alexi, over the top, just complete over the top, still makes you laugh. Even Bob has his moments where it's more of an ignorance is bliss kind of humor. And then John Walker's is just this arrogant, I'm going to take charge, even though I probably shouldn't be type funny. And it's hysterical. All the scenes in the vault where he's throwing around his weight, so to say, and it's just not landing because it's so good, man. And I think too, even when that first scene when he touches Bob and he's just leaning over the edge and we get to see kind of what I think at least we assumed it wasn't all fine and dandy, behind the scenes. But
well said later, obviously reveals that it was the case.
yeah. And I love the look after Bucky revealed, because it's cool because Bucky Bucky knows him a little more than just being somebody who crossed paths with him.
Right.
You worked with Bucky for a little while. So it's cool that they had that kind of one line of dialogue to reveal that. And then after it's revealed, Yelena kind of just gives that look that she gives to Walker. And you can just feel kind of the empathetic, dang man, I didn't realize it. I'm sorry. It's just kind of I'm sorry, I feel you, I'm here for you type beat. And he was just kind of yeah. Just kinda
She's the heart.
She's the heart, man.
Oh.
Yeah.
She's the heart. She does that with every character. For the most part, I'm missing the one with Ghost, but she has a lot of good lines with Ghost as well.
Yeah.
And of course her connection with Bob the entire
Yes.
time. That's really the only reason they end up getting out of this mess.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to touch
Yeah,
on too.
please.
It's I'm glad that there's not a world where you can convince me that they could have stopped him.
No.
No.
And that was gonna be the hardest thing to
So,
overcome in this movie.
For sure. So the fact that you beat him by appealing to Bob and his humanity, and you have Yelena, the most human character of your group, basically act as Black Widow did to Banner,
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
right? Just kind of talk
That's
him
a good
off the
parallel. I
edge.
didn't even catch that. That's
Is
a good
like-
Come
call.
on.
Is
In the blood.
it's really good, and it's just I don't know. It's just again the through line of that's the only way you could defeat him.
Mhm.
100%.
Is to convince him to defeat himself. And then also just the parallel and the symmetry of when she does find Bob in that room and things are going bad and the team shows up, it's they literally went through his darkest memories and they
Mhm.
fought his demons together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Beautiful.
It keeps
It's beautiful
playing.
stuff,
Yes.
man.
Yeah,
That's
when you think
awesome.
about it, it's it keeps going. So the whole thing is Bob, you're alone. Bob, you're alone. Bob,
Yeah.
you're alone. And they're showing him that he's not.
Yeah.
We're literally walking through your mind through the darkest days of your life.
Yeah.
And your abusive dad beat the hell out of him.
Mhm.
We beat the hell out of him. It's we went through those together. And so it's just again, they're rounding third,
Yeah.
Yeah.
going home, and they're kind of connecting it all together, and everything has a through line. So I was very happy on how they won
I agree.
at the end of the day.
I was
It's
satisfied by it for sure.
They round third in that scene, and then I keep wanting to say Lewis instead of Rob or Bob. But then he's beating the ever loving
Mhm.
you know what out of
No,
home
no, no.
plate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's hold on. You need to walk right now.
Yeah.
This is not the moment that you're
Yeah,
not getting that.
that's
And
a good way of describing it. Yeah.
The
that
catcher
then
doesn't have the
jump
ball.
on
Stop
it.
hitting
him.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right? He's like pounding on it, and you don't need to.
Yeah.
And the fact that they can obviously with their own strength to get out of their
Yeah.
own situation from
That was a beautiful scene.
that was really
It
cool.
was so beautiful.
That was really
It's
well
cool because
done.
like you can't beat your way through demons like
No,
that too. Like
you
you
can't.
can't just throw your fists around.
It's
It is
forgiveness.
Exactly.
it's about forgiveness. It's about accepting the help from those around you
Yeah.
to ultimately overcome it.
Right.
And that's what they were. That's what that was. Just them coming together. Just incredible stuff.
And when you're going through those things, just because you get somewhat connected with one friend or a couple
Mhm.
friends, or often, it's not unless they're there with you every step of the way. Like he was going through all of his former demons with them as
Mhm.
help, and then he still couldn't overcome it until like when he, even though he had all this help and he's learning,
Yeah.
that final biggest demon at the end is he still forgot.
Yep.
You
Yep.
still need those people to walk with you through the whole
Yeah.
time, not once, not twice, but consistently.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
One more thing I want to get into before we get into our rankings of this. The Void looked really good.
It did.
Whatever problems I had with the CGI, couple scenes before that, completely erased after the Void came into play. Made me feel a little bit sad because you know what I thought of, Joe, was gore
Mm.
and the similarities of that movie and how they just didn't execute that very well. And I feel like everything they done with this movie, they could have done with that movie in the way they portrayed Gore and the Necro Sword and the all black. So that made me a little sad, but at the same time, I was like, wow, he looks phenomenal. He looks scary.
Yeah.
It's menacing. I would not want to be in a room with that thing. And I just think that brought it almost like feeling like horror-ish. And I kind of was digging it. Like I just really liked the way they made him look in that film. The beady eyes were crazy.
There was just some dark scenes in this movie
Dark.
too. It's like obviously the
Well.
heavy topic of
Mm-hmm.
the mental health stuff, but also him just like absolutely destroying a little girl. It's
Dude,
crazy.
Yeah, that was
wild, bro.
Oh my
that was
God.
crazy. That was
Bold.
insane.
That was crazy.
And along with the Void, the shadow thing is one of the coolest things I've seen in cinema in a while.
That was really cool.
That is something, I don't remember what product we were talking about recently where we saw something, we were talking about, I don't know if it was a movie or a show. We saw something just unique and it was new.
Oh, I know.
And we were like, this is just something I've yet to see it
Sinners.
been done. Sinners was one of them. There's one thing before that. I don't remember what it was. Maybe I can jog your memory at some point during this conversation. But this is just something I have not seen done like this in cinema. And it was creative. It was interesting. It was really well executed.
It was.
Where they just blink like into a shadow. It's so, I don't know who thought of that, but like that's brilliant.
It was really well done.
It's brilliant. And that also makes you feel the hollowing like
Yes.
threat that is this thing that's spreading out in the
Because
city.
they're not disappearing
No.
in the hole, but there's just the shadow.
They're
left
just
behind.
gone.
Oh my gosh.
It's worse than even like the blip was because you get to
Yes.
see people fading in the blip. But this is just like they're just instantly gone. Like when it's coming to the guy in the car and he's trying to get out, it's just boop,
Yeah.
gone. The girl one obviously hit so hard because it's just like I saved you, bang. So whoa. But yeah, dude, that's just all. The ending was done really well, which is sometimes like where Marvel can falter. A lot of times is like, how do we land this plane? And I think they, like you said, not only wrapping it up in like a way that we can believe is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Because again, this character is just so OP.
Yeah.
How can all these humans just? And I was thinking too, you got 3 super soldiers, but that's still not enough.
Not even
It's-
a fraction.
and they're not
close.
even like, I don't even know if they're actually perfected super soldiers like Steve's was, but
Even Steve couldn't do anything.
even Steve wasn't doing nothing.
No.
Steve would try.
Like Thor is maybe the only character I'd put out there to try it out.
Yeah.
It's a tough one.
It's a tough.
It's tough to put.
No, I mean
up against them.
Thor is
Listen, we comic
Thor.
Thor. We can get some comic
Okay,
Thors.
comic Thor is insane.
Comic Thor is wild.
His power scale is off the charts. But yeah, no, for sure. Thor. I mean, Thor is him. So
Thor is him. But yeah, man. I'm just really happy. And then before we get into the rankings, I guess one other thing we need to talk about.
I have one too.
Go
if
ahead.
you
Go
have
ahead.
a moment.
Sorry.
I was just gonna bring up a couple casting and director
Yeah.
things from my cinephile perspective. The director, I was thinking the whole time, who's directing this movie? Guy called Jake Schreier.
Mm-hmm.
He's directed nothing in Marvel. He's directed very few movies in general. Paper Towns, if you guys know.
I
that,
have heard of
that
Paper
movie.
Towns.
I've seen that
Beef,
movie.
he directed a part of the first season of Beef, one of the 3 directors, which is like a pretty big show at the moment. I haven't seen it. The one that stands out to me that thematically fits is the music video for Kendrick Lamar's "We Cry Together."
Oh, really? You did
That's
music
something he
videos.
directed. Other than that, he's directed almost nothing.
Yeah.
That's
That's what I liked. That's what made this think. That's what made this feel like old Marvel.
Yeah.
That was like Marvel's bread and butter for a long time. It's like, hey, let's get these directors that nobody really knows of yet. Let's make them let's let them do their own thing inside the scale of what we're doing.
Yeah.
That's how Ryan Coogler was here.
Exactly.
And so
I think before that he done only Fruitvale Station.
Fruitvale
Yeah.
Station and Creed.
yeah, and that was it.
Creed
Creed
one.
was like
He
the
didn't do any
first
other
Creed, and
Creeds.
that was it.
Yeah.
And so, and before that too, there's so many. Like we go down the list of all the
Sure.
different Marvel movies, but that's what made this feel real original
Yeah.
and like old Marvels. They got somebody like this with
Mhm.
not a lot of experience and just said, "Hey, we trust you. Here's the frame. Stay in
Yeah.
it, but we trust you to like do whatever you need to inside of that."
And then the cinematography was also a standout. You've
Incredible.
heard the rumors. It's shot like an A24 movie. The reason they say that, the guy who directed it is this guy called Andrew Draws Palermo.
Mhm.
He's directed a few horror movies. He's directed a VHS movie. If you guys know that series, it's kind of a niche horror thing. But The Green Knight with Dev Patel
Okay.
from 2021.
Oh
He
yeah.
he shot that movie too.
Cool. Very
But
cool.
he also very short list when
Mhm.
it comes to big budget stuff. It was something that they also found another small
Dude, what was the
guy.
budget
It
for
was
this movie?
Super cool.
It was not. It couldn't have been large.
Oh,
I don't
That's-
know. It's a pretty loaded cast, and the CG looked great. Not that you have to have a big budget
Yeah.
for great CG, but
Yeah, and like
For the most part.
I'm saying over 250.
see,
Over
y'all are
250?
talking in Marvel numbers. To me, that seems
that's
insane.
that's Marvel's numbers is.
Marvel. Yeah,
I know Marvel.
Yeah.
Marvel operates on a different.
I don't
scale.
know if it
They're
says
their lower movies are like 300.
it says no. That says it wouldn't be that wouldn't be surprising. So that was almost saying it like it didn't even. There's like different reports about it. I'm seeing 180.
I was gonna say it makes sense that it's a little cheaper
Yeah,
than some of maybe their average.
yeah.
Given the
That's
scale
still a
and
lot
stuff
given
like
what
that.
they did in this
It's
movie.
a lot though. Yeah, Well, that's
Uh,
how Marvel operates to me.
It's kind of crazy. It has not grossed a lot right now though.
I mean,
So we're only on Friday.
yeah, it's Friday. It just came out.
Only on
today.
Friday. Just
Official
came out.
Release date is today. It's not even Friday evening.
Yep.
with
Yep.
Those numbers.
It made 11.5 so far. It's
That's-
expected to make 70 to 75 million domestically.
it's competing with a
And
lot this weekend,
worldwide, it's
too.
projected to be almost around 175 million.
I think it'll.
It
do
is competing
well.
with a lot. I
It's
think it's going to do
competing with a lot.
just fine. I think too, this is going to have the benefit of maybe getting some word of mouth love,
Yes.
like Sinners did.
it's not going
um,
to get the same that Sinners did.
no,
Sinners
no.
is a cultural thing. to
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
This is
Yeah.
bringing the MCU back,
1,000%.
which is big, but some people will still be hesitant.
Well, people are going to be doubtful of it being in the MCU back
That's what I'm saying.
until they actually watch it with their own eyes and
Exactly.
make that opinion. Because
Yeah.
that's been thrown out there. It's basically a sheep and
Well,
it's
yeah,
the wolf
yeah.
and sheep's clothing
Yeah.
at this point. So, but post credit scene. First off, the first one. What even was the mid credit scene? It was all just the Wheaties box, right?
The Wheaties box stuff.
Funny stuff. I want that poster. I need a Wheaties poster with those guys on it. That's really cool. But no, big post credit scene at the end.
Also, I saw, I think the longest post credit.
Oh,
scene.
that's
it
what I
was
was
very
thinking while
long. It
watching
was
it. I was
very
like, this
long.
is going. This is still going.
Yeah.
But honestly, it worked. I didn't have a problem with it being so long. It felt really
Yeah.
good.
well done.
You can see 14 months is a big jump.
14 months is a huge jump. That has me raising a ton
It's
of
a
questions.
big jump. It's like a long. They've been active for a whole year at that point. That's a while.
Yeah, but they got to kickstart everything.
I agree.
and-
Well, they've got the building, they got the logos, they got the suits. They're all dressed up. So, you can see all their hairs have grown out. Was Ghost even in that scene?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
I totally missed her. I was focused on she
Not as
didn't
big of a
talk
deal.
much. So, but no, they get the word. I was wondering which way they were gonna head into this with it, and you know,
I had like someone like,
a premonition about it.
yeah, like a very strong hint that like, hey, this post credit scene is going to tie into Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
And so when the credits rolled and you saw the Fantastic Four theme song, and you
Oh,
were
that's
clocking it,
right.
Yeah.
I was like looking.
Dude, you
I was
did
like
clock.
looking.
That's right.
'Cause I saw-
totally
I was-
forgot about that.
I was
I
dead.
forgot about that too.
I was dead staring at it.
Yeah.
And I was just looking at it, and then you said it, and I was like, and you were like, oh, like what did you hear it?
I
And
was literally like, did you hear that the entire time this movie?
I was like, oh yeah, maybe I might have. Just because I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure like they're gonna hint at it, and that's probably. What
I'm
it's
not gonna
play.
lie, I didn't even connect those dots. I did kind of feel like, obviously, like it's in the back of my mind. This movie probably should connect to Fantastic Four with it
Yeah.
just being the next movie. I didn't even clock it when I picked it out of the credit roll
Yeah,
that
you
that
did.
was gonna pretty much be it. Great scene, but then they ultimately lead into the, we got a little dimensional disturbance up in space.
Yeah.
When she said in space too, that was where I was like, okay,
In
what we
space.
doing? What we doing within space? There's a lot in space. And they've talked about too, past these next two Avengers movies, they're going to get a lot more cosmic and off Earth
Cool.
with their future phases. And so that kind of just piqued my interest. But then we get the ship coming through.
Did you
and
know it was Fantastic Four before the logo showed or no?
I just assumed.
You assumed.
I assumed. I know that's their ship, and I'm sure I'm
that's
sure
not
that
a ship.
ship's even in the trailer.
I
If
think
I'm
it
not
is.
mistaken,
I
I'm
think
pretty
is.
sure it is.
Okay.
And so I just I knew it was, and then obviously it just rolling over because that's been we've all had our theories about Fantastic Four, and that's been the biggest theory so far is how that movie's going to end. And I don't want to get into too much of that in case he hasn't heard anything about it, but
It's gonna end them coming to the 616.
for sure. And so that was very cool to like establish that now
Yeah.
Yeah.
because now we can know what we're looking for in Fantastic Four,
Yeah.
which is going to be cool. And I've heard, listen, if Fantastic Four is also a banger,
It's momentum.
we're not going to say, I don't want to say Marvel's back.
Interesting
We
territory.
can't get into that conversation again. Marvel's always back depending on who you talk to. That's a strong 2-film outing
Yeah.
to start off, to end Phase 5 and to start. And you can kind of see this as the beginning of the new regime
It is.
because of all that's happened with the turnover since everything wasn't working in Phase 5.
Yeah.
But
I think
yeah, good stuff.
one thing I thought when you're talking about the ending, how it sticks the landing of the whole movie
Mm.
and where they're going. The asterisk, I don't know. Somebody had told
Oh,
me,
yeah.
like, I love that the asterisk really at the end is
Yeah.
not because the real title is really going to be
Yes.
the new Avengers, but we
It-
don't want to tell y'all.
Yeah.
I love the fact that there's a B team
Oh, yeah.
essentially for the Avengers, which they play off with the little jokes as the credits roll.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, and this is kind of interesting too, if you want to talk about kicking off the new regime, to me, we want to talk about how Yelena is like Cap and all these things. To
Mhm.
me, these are the new Guardians. No,
They honestly, yeah,
they're more
they fit
serious.
the-
It's not
they
as
fit the
comedic.
Suicide role, Guardians of the
just
Galaxy
Suicide,
role
it's
more.
almost like a Guardians of the Galaxy
Yeah.
type thing, where I
Yeah.
think and
Without
similar
the
in,
galaxy
in
part.
power
Yeah.
scale, right? Exactly, but similar in power scale too, where they're not
Yeah.
going to be leading everything.
yeah, yeah.
Well, Guardians
No,
are
I
still
agree.
around though.
They are still
but
around.
they fill that role to me.
They're
Sure,
they're,
fair.
For the
they're
new
I agree
wave.
though, and
Yeah.
I think the placeholder of Thunderbolts. We knew it was a placeholder going in. They'd kind of said that like that's what the asterisk was for.
Yeah,
And honestly, I love the way they got the Thunderbolts name. I thought that was really
It was
funny and
cute,
creative.
yeah,
It wasn't
I
like
liked it.
it wasn't one of those moments where you hear it in the theater in the dialogue and you're like, come on, bro.
Oh, they said the title of the movie.
They're like roll
yeah.
credits, I guess. But no, when she said all the words and then she snuck the Thunderbolts into her soccer team and then it just kept coming back up and back up and back up. It was hysterical. I told him, I was like, I need a jersey of that soccer team ASAP.
that'd be
I need
fire.
some Thunderbolts jerseys. But no, let's get into ranking this thing. Because heading into a new regime, hopefully a new leaf for Marvel. Andy, since you haven't been here doing this with us yet, we just simply do this on a 1 to 10 power scale. Joe likes to throw in a lot of decimals. A lot of
I
times.
do.
I have heard a little bit of that.
Um,
I listened to the Cap episode.
For sure.
You would give it like a 2.3 or something. I'm just kidding. But
I
it
don't
wasn't bad.
I think
It was-
I
it
gave
wasn't
I think
great.
I gave it like a 4. I
Yeah.
want to
I
say.
gave it a
Yeah.
4 something.
Yeah, I was not thrilled by Cap at all. All right, Andy, I'll let you go first since you're the guest of honor.
I'm gonna have to translate this and give a little. I'm a Letterboxd user,
Yeah.
very avid Letterboxd user. To me, this is a 4 on Letterboxd, which I guess if we're talking a similar scale translates to an 8.
8 out of 10.
To me, this is a Marvel 9.5.
Mm-hmm.
I think generally speaking, I think it's a very strong 8. If I'm giving a decimal, I'll have to think about that one a little more. I
That's
think it's
okay.
really well done.
I'm firmly against decimals. So that's okay.
Okay, that's fair. I think that's about where I land. I
Mm.
think it's very well done. One of the gripes I didn't get to touch on, which I'll just say plainly, is I think that the themes and the analogies and the things it has to say were a little too on the nose.
Yeah.
We talked about
Okay.
that briefly. I think it could have been a little more subtle, but at the same time, I recognize who your audience is, so you
Yeah.
kind of have to do that.
Yeah.
So in a vacuum, to me,
Yeah, this isn't
that's the problem with it.
A24 Film
This is
Fest
not,
audiences.
No. That's my
Yeah.
crew. But yeah, I thought for a Marvel movie, this is the most impressed I've been since anything. And in the last, I was really happy with it.
Joe?
As a Marvel movie, I'd give this like an 8.8. I didn't think about the rating. I forgot we do that, honestly. But when you brought it up, I was like, oh yeah, we do. I got to think of it. My gut immediately went to an 8.8.
Okay.
As a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
And if we're talking about like a whole, like a movie, and probably more towards like an 8.
Yeah.
Because I think it's still a good movie. Even if you honestly don't even need to know the full context of the
You
shows
really
they
don't.
come
You don't,
from.
and
You really don't.
They
appreciate
do a really good job of exposition.
Yeah.
Just briefly on the characters, and honestly, like they didn't have a crap ton of screen time prior
Yeah.
to this, except for John Walker. He got like a whole show. He was kind of like
Yeah.
the main antagonist for. I'd probably give this an 8/8. Breaking a 9 because this is probably one of the better Marvel movies they've come out with.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. On my drive over here, I was really trying to come up with a reason why this movie wasn't like a 10 to me.
Ooh.
And I'm not saying it's a 10, but at the same time, I'm like,
staying on business.
I really don't have anything that's like knocking this off. It's like there's no ticks. Like I told you, even that CGI film, that scene I have a problem with. I don't really care about it that much, and it's not like enough to get me off the film. So like my initial thoughts were like that was a 9, but I'm not gonna lie, like this is a 10 for me. Like this is a home run. Like I don't. This is
a grand slam.
This is a
That's
grand
huge.
slam for Marvel. This is perfect. You have new director. You're ending this crappy phase on a great note. You're trying to make people forget about it heading into some future projects. And you actually have a goal in mind now. We know where we're heading, which is what we haven't had in Marvel for so long.
I do want to say this in defense of Marvel, because I was thinking about it as we're kind of like ragging on what it's been since Endgame.
Mm-hmm.
I want to extend grace because, to be fair, post Endgame, they had one of their cornerstones unexpectedly pass away.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm a firm believer that Chadwick Boseman, Black Panther, were going to be a massive part of what was to come.
For sure.
And their big bad villain, got into some trouble.
I agree.
Now, while I don't agree with how Disney handled it, they still ultimately made the decision to X him from Marvel. So they couldn't control that their main villain had court issues.
I agree.
Yeah.
That was hurting their brand and whatnot. So it's like in this crappy section of Marvel that we had, like two things that they couldn't control happened that ultimately reshaped everything they had on the board.
I agree.
Because we've talked about it, like since Iron Man 1, they had through Endgame like planned out.
Mm-hmm.
Like at least like ideas of how the story was gonna go.
Yeah.
You're telling me as we're getting close to Endgame and whatnot, they didn't plan the next 10 years?
Yeah, literally.
With Kang? You don't think they
for
planned the
sure.
whole saga? And literally as that starts, two of the most important characters in that saga are no longer.
I would like to even introduce a third thing that happened, which is all the Sony mess with Spider-Man.
Yeah, that is another one.
They also kind of lost their full control of just being able to use Spider-Man wherever, and Sony started to have something to say about it. And I think that drastically changed the trajectory
For sure.
of
I mean,
their big three, really, that they were going to have.
Tom Holland was coming out he was going to be the next leader.
They were talking about the next big three was going to be Black Panther, Captain Marvel, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That was what was being reported. Captain Marvel was universally hated and still is.
Yeah.
So much to the point that the actors is kind of done. And then, of course, Chadwick. And then, of course, the Sony stuff. Like, you lose all that. And I agree. Your villain, you can't control that.
Yeah.
Like, and you did make the decision to off him, but, nobody's not respecting you for that decision. So it's like, I agree. We can shoot them some bail.
They didn't kill Jonathan Majors. They just fired him.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's still alive.
So I agree on shooting
Actually,
them
just
some
had a
bail there.
movie. Just had a
did.
movie come out.
Well,
Yeah.
it was an
He's
old
still a
movie, too.
phenomenal
He hasn't
actor.
acted in anything in a while
Yeah.
since the trials. That was a movie that was released 2-3 years after production because of all the.
He's still a
controversy.
phenomenal actor, and it's unfortunate that all panned out the way
For sure.
it did.
So I just want to I feel like we lose sight of that. Now, if you hear all that and you're like, yeah, but it still sucked.
Hey,
Sure. That is your opinion.
you also got to come from the
Extend some
perspective of you
grace.
might not know what it's going to be in 5 years. Because, even as we were getting away from the earlier Marvel, I was hearing talk all the time about, early Marvel is actually not as good as we all thought it was or held it up to be. And honestly, if we hit on the next 5 to 6 projects,
It'll be pretty similar.
you're going to look back at this and honestly, there's going to be people talking about you know what, it wasn't that bad.
Nostalgia is the
yeah.
best medicine for all of
1,000%.
this. Yeah.
1,000%. So I agree. I agree wholeheartedly.
Well, the early Marvel wasn't maybe the most profound stuff, but it was also there wasn't much superhero stuff.
They also
to
had
begin
no
with.
idea what the hell they were doing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
until they did it.
The unprecedented territory.
There wasn't many superhero stuff. I mean, we had the X-Men, we had the
Mm.
original Fantastic Four, we had a few things, but it wasn't as vast and as saturated as now. So it really is just a product of its time.
100%.
So I don't know. Me personally am choosing to kind of just extend a little grace. Listen, by all means, a lot of those projects were bad, but we have, and we've talked about this multiple times. Kevin Feige is kind of recently came in and cut all the extra dead
Yep.
weight off
Cut
and
all
is
the
kind of
fat. Yep.
taking control of everything again. And so I think we're starting to see the product of him
Yeah.
like filtering out all this
We are.
mumble jumbo and getting into what
Yeah.
we used to be.
We saw it in Daredevil, and we for sure saw it in this. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited heading into Fantastic Four. And, you know, we talk about expectations on this podcast a lot, not trying to have a lot of them going into the films. I did temper my expectations for this film, but I really did deep down. Like I expected this to be a good movie, and it hit.
It's very well done.
It hit. So,
Very well done.
all right, we're going to get out of here. We got a couple more projects coming up. What do you want to say? Go ahead.
You've been waiting for an hour for the answer to this. It is Psychowitz.
Oh, it's Psychowitz, baby, from Victorious.
crazy.
I knew it. I clocked it. He's got that face. Every
He's
time
got
I
that
see him in something, I'm
face.
like,
As soon
Psychowitz!
as soon as you said it, I was like, oh, I can see it.
He's been in a couple things I've seen throughout the year. He's like in a
Nightcrawler.
random Law and Order episode as well that I've
Wind
seen.
River.
Oh man, that's
You
good.
think?
Thank you for that. I needed that.
Yeah.
I needed that confirmation. All right, we're gonna get out of here. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on TikTok. Check us out on Instagram. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Go ahead and share it with your friends as well. We love people coming around the house and having the conversation with us, i.e. Andy. And, you know, we're going to have more of it. We got NBA playoffs heading around. So if you like sports, head over to there. We got round 2 coming up. So we got a lot to say about round 1 because there's just a lot of good stuff in round 1.
Fire.
And, you know, we're also covering Andor and Last of Us. So stay tuned for episodes dropping about those. But the next movie we have is going to be Fantastic Four coming up later on this year. So 2 months, and then we are in the hot season of movies. Hot season.
Thank
so
you so much for having me, by the way.
of course,
guys. I
man. I'm
really
so
had a
glad.
ton of
We're
fun.
you're probably going to see Andy around here a little bit more when it comes to movie stuff as well. We're excited to have him. We're excited to grow the house. Also, go check out our WWE feed. Got some boys doing some good stuff over there. Some cooking some stuff. I'm excited. All right, that's gonna do it. We will catch you next time on the house.